Several months ago, Joni Lamb and Doug Weiss, both of Daystar Television Network, have been at the epicenter of a significant scandal involving the Christian community. It has been one podcast after another, and audio has been leaked after audio has been leaked, and the online Christian community has been demanding accountability from these leaders. In spite of this, Doug Weiss stands out as a particularly notable participant. A personality that stands out as particularly appealing in this scenario. To tell you the truth, I feel that the problems that have been plaguing the Lamb family might have been settled peacefully as a family disagreement if Doug had not been involved. This would have prevented all of the dirty laundry from being exposed for the entire world to see. Now, the issue that needs to be asked is, what is it about Doug that makes him such an intriguing individuality? I am the embodiment of all of those things: affection, spirituality, feeling, praise, and cultivation. Can you explain it to us in more detail? I mean, did she just choose to ignore you? You did not talk to me? Of course, it makes no difference. All I was doing was attempting to comprehend. Once I got home, Mom would spend 3 to 4 hours a night talking on the phone or reading to me, and I would be ignored during that time. Consequently, I do recall that, and it was a terrible thing. A black hole was the sound that it made. I had them, if you are truly interested in knowing that. Not at all. I am not interested in TOS. If you are truly interested in knowing. To be honest, we are doing fine. Rather than concentrating on we desired to have more conversations with Joni. However, you were inquiring about the reason. I can assure you that I believe you. And even though it may appear that I lack empathy, allow me to provide you with specifics. Yes, this is included in the book. I had no interest in such specifics. I have no interest in the specifics. It is time for me to proceed to the next phase. The complexity of this matter was not Jonathan's fault. That is not a problem at all. There is no need for us to get into it. It is not a problem. No, I'm just going to read a couple pages. Before she had children, she was either working or working out. She was quite busy. After that, she got very busy. Among the children, while she is on vacation, she is reading, she is on her phone, and she is occupied. To put it simply, I've been told I'm busy throughout my whole marriage. My understanding of what intimacy anorexia is led me to believe that the most painful portion of the experience begun for me. My wife is also aware of the nature of her illness and the course of treatment for it. She, however, does not agree. Because of her reluctance, it is clear that her behavior is completely deliberate. As a result, it is more difficult and painful to live with her. Despite the fact that she has the ability to be more courteous and affectionate, she chooses to continue to be harsh and critical. To be honest, there are a great many more. It was a taste of that was his, and it was done on purpose. It is terrible that during all of this drama, we have only been exposed to one side of the story. Doug Weiss's never-ending complaints about his matrimony. His ex-wife, Lisa Weiss, has gone silent, and her voice is noticeably absent from the conversation. What is even more disconcerting is the fact that Joni Lamb appears to be so ready to spread Doug's statements about Lisa with anyone who is willing to listen, almost as if it were her particular duty to exonerate Doug. However, let us take a step back and look at the wider picture before we proceed. His ex-wife, Lisa Weiss, has gone silent, and her voice is noticeably absent from the conversation. What is even more absent from the conversation? What is even more disconcerting is the fact that Joni Lamb appears to be so ready to spread Doug's statements about Lisa with anyone who is willing to listen, almost as if it were her particular duty to exonerate Doug. However, let us take a step back and look at the wider picture before we proceed. It was Doug and Lisa Weiss. They were not any ordinary pair. It was said that they were professionals in coaching people through the challenges that they faced in their marriages, and they were co-leaders of a marriage counseling center. The fact that they were unable to save their own marriage after more than 30 years of marriage speaks volumes about the trustworthiness of the therapy advice that they provide. Doug has a habit of complaining that Lisa was busy before the kids, after the kids, and that she was busy. The experience of living with her is excruciating. In spite of this, we have heard testimonies and other audio snippets that show Lisa asked Doug to remain an employee. I don't see why Lisa would be so adamant about keeping the marriage going if she was actually uncaring or so emotionally distant. However, Doug's story appears to be conflicting. Our organization, the American Association for Sex Therapy, is led by me as its president. Here at Harar, I serve as the executive director. The Counseling Center. They travel into Car Springs and participate in intensives for 3 or 5 days per week during the entire year. Therefore, I have been engaged in this line of business for more than 35 years. To the best of my knowledge, I have taken more MA porn histories than any other man on the entire earth. I have been recovering from sexual addiction for more than 35 years, which means that I have not engaged in any sexual activity outside of marriage, including masturbation, porn, or other sexual activities. I will demonstrate this by taking a polygraph examination. The academic credentials and career narrative of Doug Weiss are, to tell you the truth, quite the roller coaster ride. It was from California Coastal University that he received his first PhD. Does that seem appropriate? So let's not rush things. Weiss admits that he never completed the project, as stated in an interview that he provided to the Colorado Springs Gazette in the year 2002. In the oral portion of his dissertation. Considering how important it is to actually acquire a doctoral degree, that is a very significant piece of information to leave out. However, despite this, it was still included on his resume in some form. It is at this point when the situation becomes even more extraordinary. The institution that Weiss attended in order to earn his second doctorate degree was Montello University, which was subsequently shut down by the government. This is a diploma mill, absolutely, a degree mill. In response to a question regarding this matter, Doug is claimed to have responded, "I don't know why problems at my school should reflect on me. To be serious?" Saying something like, "I bought a fake Rolex, but why are you judging me for wearing it?" is the same as saying that. It doesn't quite belong in this place. There was a moment in time when he even instructed his customers to cease referring to him as doctor and instead go with Doug. In addition, there is the issue of his position as a certified marriage and family therapist. Indeed, that turned out to be deceptive as well. A formal slap on the wrist was given to him by the State Board of Licensed Professional Counselor Examiners because he was utilizing that title without the appropriate license. And what do you think? In spite of this, he has not yet obtained a license to practice marriage and family therapy, in spite of the fact that he has been working in that industry for many years. Since the year 2000, he has held the license to practice as a licensed professional counselor, and since 2008, he has held the license to practice as a licensed psychologist. What about therapy for couples and families? No way. So, this is the thing that truly stays with me. While this individual has built his entire career on counseling families and couples, his qualifications are not impressive. Marriage and family therapy are not something that actually exist. When it comes to relationships, we are meant to put our faith in him as an authority. There is no such thing as a mistake in life. We all make them. On the other hand, when you are in a position where trust and credibility are of the utmost importance, it is difficult to disregard a certain kind of track record. Before we move on, let's take a more in-depth look at Doug Weiss, Ph.D., and the trajectory of his academic career appears to be in reality. Doug began his study for his doctoral degree in psychology in 1994. However, he never finished the oral argument section of his dissertation, which means that he did not exactly fulfill all of the prerequisites. Moving forward in time to the year 1998, Doug was attending Montello University to finish the necessary coursework for his doctoral degree. Sadly, the university was forced to close its doors in the year 2000 because the fact that it was a diploma mill was a contention. By 2004, Doug had graduated with a doctoral degree from North Central University, which he mentioned on his LinkedIn profile as the institution from which he had received his degree. When examining qualifications, it is important to take in mind that North Central is not an institution that is accredited by the American Psychological Association, APA. In the year 2005, Doug sent in his application to eventually become a licensed psychologist in Colorado. On the 11th of July 2005, he mentioned North Central University as the institution from which he had obtained his doctoral degree in January of 2004. On the other hand, Doug was required to renew his license with the Colorado Department of Regulatory Agencies in the year 2008. In the documentation, he said on multiple occasions that the year 2008 was the year he received his doctorate. Hold on, didn't he just finish saying it? 2003 or 2004. What is it, Doug, you ask? Upon being approached via email for clarification, he completely ghosted the investigation into his absence. Therefore, we decide to travel to New York, which will be the very first time that we have met in person since you two began dating one another. It was only that you mentioned that God had instructed you to take her to the highest level of the empire, and I was just horrified by that. State building and present her with a Tiffany heart, if you remember correctly. To me, however, that appeared to be nothing more than manipulative. From the moment you make the jump, it is as if you are functioning out of your flesh. And then soon after that. That is to say, you noticed it right away. Well, let's just talk about the facts. Do not discuss how you are feeling. All right? Oh, yes, of course. I'm referring to the simple fact that it's obvious that you're making out a lot, like immediately away. No, I don't apologize for that at all. I agree with you. Indeed, we were making out in order to determine whether or not we shared that kind of connection with one another. If there is something wrong, I am not sure what it is. During the month of July, we had gone on FaceTime for a total of 60 hours. The question is, Jimmy, if there is something wrong, is there something wrong with making out like that? I unquestionably smacked the H-hound out of him with a kiss. In no way, shape, or form. But that was 60 hours of conversation. After 60 hours of talking and praying with her, I had the impression that Jesus was involved in this situation from the very beginning. After only a few weeks of talking to her, I'm not sure what you're doing, Jesus. What are you doing? Are you joking around? Very good. I'm not sure what you're doing, Jesus. What are you doing? Are you joking around? So, since Jesus is a part of it, self-control is completely out of the question. Would you say that? A thing else? No, this was not the case. Up until the point where you mentioned that Jesus is involved, after that I'm like, hold on, we still have time to work on our self-control. You did, in fact, establish a connection with yourself on an emotional level. She was a widow who was a rabble. The moment you emerged from you were the one who initiated. You are the one who started the conversation, after all. You continued to keep pursuing her. You were the one who called her each and every time. Summer evening in July, but not in June. Yes, you are the one who is trying to get her. a little less than 6 months after my passing. This is also a part of it, as the saying goes, it takes two to tango. However, I am arguing that you are the one who ought to be held to a higher standard as a marriage counselor and as a marriage consulting practice. It was in November of 2021 when Marcus Lamb, the founder of Daystar, passed away. Joni, his wife, divulged the secrets too. She told viewers that she cried every night for a period of 6 months, wondering if she was destined to remain unmarried for the rest of her life. In the meantime, Doug Weiss filed for divorce from his wife only 3 months later. Is it a coincidence? Perhaps. One thing that jumps out, however, is the manner in which they invoke the name of God to justify whatever it is that they have already decided to do. It gives the impression of being a method to silence any criticism because, after all, if God were to tell me, who would disagree with that? Doug asserted that God had instructed him on how to pursue Joni in a romantic relationship. These heavenly orders included accompanying her to the Empire State Building for their first kiss and purchasing a heart necklace from Tiffany's for her. By proclaiming Jesus is the most important thing in their relationship, Doug gave everyone the assurance that he was. It had been worked out by a higher power. Moving forward in time to the 10th of June in the year 2023, Joni Lamb and Dr. Doug Weiss made their way down the aisle. It was none other than Jimmy Evans who presided over the ceremony, which served to firmly establish their connection in what they referred to as holy matrimony. It should not be forgotten that Marcus Lamb had an affair with a married woman over a period of 7 years. That is something that I can imagine happening. Extraordinarily challenging for Joni, but she remained, most likely due to the fact that they had established an empire together. Then, when the opportunity eventually presented itself, it appears that it took her only 6 months to put Marcus's memories behind her and go on with the man she could have desired all along, although in this particular instance, it was someone else's. My husband. Having a conversation with her in the capacity of a friend and a counselor to her. It's true. On the other hand, the friendship eventually resulted in an emotional connection, which led to feelings. I have been a part of this from the very beginning of its existence till now. While maintaining a professional demeanor, you built an emotional connection with D. This is what transpired. As time went on, he developed emotional relatedness. Emotionally began to develop a relationship. Split up with your father. Experienced the development of an emotional connection with a person who was married. Moreover, he was married to something. Do you dare to ask why we are discussing this? It is not the point. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that it's quite comparable to how it begins, isn't it? Not comparable in any way. There are no parallels to be found elsewhere. Using the audio, you can hear the damage that Doug has caused to the Lamb family in a very obvious and transparent manner. If there had been another person participating, it is possible that this kind of pandemonium would not have taken place. Taking into consideration the legacy that her family has left behind, it is possible that Joni may have married someone else if she had given some consideration to the future of her family, as well as their ministry. Perhaps the outcome would have been different on the other hand. Now, however, it is difficult to ignore the fact, not only was this a love story, but it was also a question of circumstances. Because of the choices that were taken, there have been significant repercussions, not only for Joni and Doug, but also for the entire family, their ministry, and everything that they have labored so diligently to establish.